And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday Morning Golf Rap with HR3 Hugh Roy III and George Honeycutt, the Godfather. We want to welcome you in and got a lot to talk about today, buddy, bro.
I'll tell you what, a lot happened yesterday. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting all over the globe. I mean, we saw the European Tour absolutely get rained out, which is unusual, really.
It is unusual, but, I mean, it happens, and it's, it could happen to a junior tournament here in South Carolina. So, I mean, rain's rain, Mother Nature, once you get to
Couldn't even
mood.
get 36 in to even cut it off short. So, like I said, it rarely happens, but it did happen. So, European Tour was kind of out of the mix this week. But, boy, did we have a knockdown, drag-out fight on the Champions Tour.
Very nice.
Which we'll get into. It was a lot of fun to watch that, and we'll congratulate highly the winner this week in the Champions Tour. And then I sat and watched. I had the opportunity to sit and just take in the whole LPGA fight all the way down to the end. And that was good. I enjoyed that.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Let's start with the Arnold Palmer Invitational by MasterCard. What did you think? Matt Avery comes and defends. Last year's champion comes back, wins again.
And, I mean, started off poorly. I think he was one over through the first couple of holes, and then all of a sudden.
Well, he starts 3 shots back, and, he then bogeys, number one, to go 4 shots back.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even expect him to, even get in the hunt.
Well, you look at the way he played coming down the home stretch. But I tell you what, George, and I've got to be honest, I kind of agreed with you when we did the show last Thursday. I think Stenson is a great pick for Augusta. But after what I saw yesterday and the immaturity and how flustered he got so quick, mentally,
explain to our audience what you're talking about. What happened?
Their group was put on the clock by the rules official. And by being on the clock, they were playing too slow, so they were being pushed and timed. And it wasn't his fault as much as it was his playing partner.
Stenson's a pretty quick player.
But he got even faster. And you look at the mistakes that he made on 15 and 16. I mean, if he 2 putts, he had it 20 feet for par, 18 feet for par on 15, 3 putts. 16 hits it on just in the back fringe in 2. He couldn't have been more than 20 feet down the hill. He knocked it a good 8 to 10 feet past the hole. 3 putts there to make par, and all he's got to do is go 2-putt, and then play the way he did coming in, and he wins the golf tournament running away. Because he hit it perfect off 18 with his Frankenwood, and but you got to make birdie on 18 at Bay Hill after Matt Avery birdied the 18th hole to get it to 19, and it wasn't there.
I fully expected Stenson. He didn't play bad yesterday, but. I picked up the coverage late in the round, and it was surprising to hear that Avery did have that 1-shot lead, and I was catching Stenson as he was working on 17. And I did not know the whole story until later when I researched it. These guys, here it is. He's trying to win an event. He's trying to lock up an event, and they had to significant. How many holes did they fall behind?
I think they got to within a hole and a half. But, look, like I was telling you before we went on the air, it's very simple. The first time you get put on the clock, you get a little, oh gosh, I got, and you get in a hurry. Second time, it bugs you a little bit. This guy's number 3 in the world, number 2 in the world. Yeah. Come on, Parge. You got to be mature enough to know how to handle these situations. If you're that highly ranked, you should have enough gumption and
Do you think it just added to his frustration? He was already knew that they were playing slow, and it wasn't because of him. And do you think that just kind of put him over the top, and he just got –
like I said, that's immaturity on his behalf.
I'm not arguing
I don't
with
care
you.
if it put him over the top or not. If you're that highly ranked and you're that good a player, that's be like telling Michael Jordan, okay, you've got 0.6 seconds to get this ball and shoot it, or something's going to happen. Michael Jordan's going to get it and figure out a way to shoot it.
Right.
And he's going to figure out a way to score.
Yeah, I agree.
So basically what it is, and he came off all mad and upset, and the guy was playing fine. He made some dumb mistakes because he let something get to him that he should have had control of. And it's easy to say sitting behind this mic, but unfortunately in my lifetime been there and done that and had to learn the hard way too. And it's something that is part of your routine, you know, and why let it bother you if you're on the clock? If you know what your routine is, which is part of your training and part of your responsibilities to know how long your pre-shot routine is, it shouldn't bother you.
Well, especially if you're not the culprit.
That's what I say, because they can't penalize the group. They penalize you individually.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, you know, everybody's your group's behind. Okay,
Your twosomes are both going to get 2-shot penalties. That's not going to happen.
You can't do that. It's done individually. So therefore, if you know what your routine is, and I mean, I knew the maximum, if I even slowed down, backed off, and started over, what my routine was.
Right.
And so for him to blame it on that, I'm sorry, George, is an absolutely poor excuse.
I agree.
And I lost a lot of, I'm not going to say a lot of respect because I didn't, but the fact is, him being on the top of my list to get into our Masters deal, he dropped about 4 or 5. No question.
Okay.
Because you know the pressure at Augusta.
Yeah, there is going to be pressure.
So if it happened at Bay Hill, what's going to happen at Augusta?
Well, I think he had built up a level, after watching it later, he had built up a level of frustration with his playing opponent. And then by the marshaller or whoever, the rules official, coming up and saying, hey, we just put you on the clock, that just kind of put him over the top. He was just, you know, I don't know. We've seen a little bit of this temper with him before, but it was more of he tried to execute some shot and didn't pull it off, and so he takes it out on himself. Because we've made the statement on this program and other programs here at TGD before, Stenson sometimes doesn't know how to get out of his own way when it comes to his frustration and his temper and his level of patience with his own game.
Yeah, and you said it exactly.
His putter,
patience.
His putter, for one. I mean, we've seen him get on a roll to where he'll hit great putts, be catching the lip of everything, not making anything. All of a sudden, you'll see him banging the head of his putter or slamming it down on the ground or whatever. That's that frustration level. That's that internal demons that kick in with Henrik.
And I'm just going to say, you know, you get into the majors, you get into your favorite tournament, you know, here at Augusta, you cannot allow that to happen.
Let's hope he uses it as a learning. Let's hope he uses it.
He does, but he better learn to line up his second putts better instead of just walking up and hitting them like he did yesterday.
I agree.
Because to me, that's immaturity.
I agree. Well, Matt Avery ends up winning the event again at 19 under par. Interestingly, if you sit and look at the stats, folks, and Hugh, here we go with some numbers, so you can go ahead and go to sleep now. But greens hit, Matt actually finished the week second with 80.56 greens percentage greens hit in regulation. He was driving accuracy at 73%, 29th, tied for 29th. Putting was at 1.22. He was tied actually in 8th position. Driving distance, 290.3. He was tied for 34th there. So, Matt, I mean, you know, just the numbers doesn't exactly show a winner, except for he hit some greens, you know, finished second in hitting greens. So, if you look at Henrik, he was 61st in driving distance, 278. And a lot of that has to do with he primarily tees off with that Frankenwood.
And hits that thing 9 miles. I will give him that.
You figure 278 is with a 3-wood, so, you know. Tied for 10th in driving accuracy at 80.36, so 7 points higher than Matt Avery, the winner. Greens hit was tied for 5th at 76.3%. And then in putting, he was at 0.7, which was 18th position. So you look at Matt Jones at 17 under. He was really the only real stat that he was up at the top was his driving accuracy at 82%. So he hit some fairways. Morgan Hoffman finished at 16 under. Again, the numbers, he's kind of middle of the pack through all of them. And Ben Martin ends up basically leading the field for accuracy-wise. I mean, he ends up hitting 89.29% of his drives for the week at Bay Hill. And that's some big number right there.
You get to close.
That's
89% is impressive, yes.
Yeah.
But it just goes back to proving the point, George. You know, he who plays the best is not necessarily the one that hits it the best.
Right.
But who scores the best.
Yeah.
And you look at at Matt. I mean, he stood on 18. He drove in the left side of the fairway, hit his second shot, took it fat, worked it to the flag, had it, 12, 15 feet behind the hole, makes it for birdie, game over. And, just playing smart, knowing how to utilize the situation you're in to your advantage. And that's what he did yesterday where Stenson did not.
Right. Do you feel like, was Stenson just kind of playing conservatively, or do you feel like that he was, because really he hadn't pulled away. He started the day with a 3-shot lead. So really the Saturday round separated him. And we saw some great things happen on Saturday, including his play. Mm-hmm. But we saw Berger's albatross. That was phenomenal.
Zach Johnson makes one yesterday at 16. Zach doesn't hit it far enough. Well, guess what? He hit an iron into 16 and made a 2.
Yeah.
So he hits it far enough.
Sure.
So all these people that think they've got to hit it further, get off the drugs and just think about hitting fairways and hitting greens and playing golf.
Right. What did you think about this year? I was somewhat disappointed. Now, they're going to change all the greens for next year. But I was disappointed in the shape of the greens this year. You could tell that they were really struggling just to keep them going.
They were soft, a lot softer than I expected. And I think that's one reason why they're getting into that. But, the 17th green, they put that pin in that back right where they had it yesterday. It's hard to hold that green. Mm-hmm. And they were flying them in there, and they looked like they were hitting wedges.
Right.
So it's obvious that there's a problem with the depth of the root system through those greens, and that's why they've got to make these
you
changes.
could see the different strands of grasses throughout the greens, especially from an overhead shot on many of the coverage yesterday. On much of the coverage yesterday, you could see the discolorations. You could see the different strands of grasses that were in the green. Normally, you see it like with, for example, a bent grass. You can see the grain, and then you see the light color. Where the grain's going away from you. But, this was purely, this is one type of back grass, this is another type of grass, and you see the weak spots, and you saw
and it's like they're saying now, too, Jordan.
And the players were holding their tongue a lot during the post-interviews.
It's Mr. Palmer's tournament.
Yeah.
They're not going to go. But, a lot of it, too, and I've heard a lot of this from some of the experts, the superintendents around here that are the better, superintendents here in the Grand Strand area. A lot of these new ultra dwarfs, they're going back to Tift Eagle or, basically Tift Dwarf.
Yeah.
And, Champion and all that stuff. They are mutating back. And I think that's what you're starting to see a lot, especially down in Florida with the humidity and the warmth. And, it's speeding up this process. Because, never seen Bay Hill not have firm, unless it's just been raining. But, not firm, fast greens.
Well, they didn't get any weather. There was no issues of weather.
Exactly.
And you could tell Mr. Palmer was frustrated.
They had to water.
Yeah, they had to. Well, basically, you could tell that they were doing what they had to do to at least host the event.
Yes.
And to have some putting surfaces available to the players. And then I pictured yesterday just watching the highlights of the tournament and seeing the condition of the greens, and I'm going, you can see the bulldozers pulling down the fairways Monday morning.
Oh, yeah.
You can just picture them things getting ripped up.
Today the volunteers will be playing out there and getting a free round of golf, and then I guarantee you by Wednesday or Thursday,
there's going to be some
You're not going to see a thing out there. And folks that live out there, you better just go ahead and put all of your shades, your windows, and everything. Just close it and lock it up because it's going to be noisy.
Yeah. It's they definitely need to do it. Mr. Palmer was the first one. Bless his heart. He was the first one to say last week during some pre-tournament interviews. Our greens aren't the best, and we've been doing what we can to get by with them, but we're going to make the change. And so I think next year it'll be exciting because they'll be back to another type of Bermuda. And whether it be Tift Dwarf, Champions, whatever it may be. But those greens will be like Trump that we saw last year, firm and fast.
Well, instead of seeing 19 under, I think you may see 8, 9, or 10.
8, yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's where I was going.
Yep.
Yeah. You'll get back to those approaches like on 17 where they're going, well, I'm going to hit the middle of the green, but I'm about to blow this all the way over the back.
Where's the easiest place I can put this to get it up and down because you can't hold it.
Right.
Or unless you want to try to have a 50-footer going across them, then that's no fun either.
No. And Mr. Palmer will make sure that next year they are ripe and ready. No doubt about it. So
19 under does not make him happy, put it that way.
well, he expressed I'm fine with that. Let the boys go out and shoot it. But let's just say that he expected his Bay Hill, especially with some of the now final tweaks that he's done, like at 15, for example, moving the tee box back 57 yards and things of that sort. He wanted it to play a little tougher.
Well,
and
16, they're going to have to make a choice at 16. Are they going par 4 or are they going par 5?
Yeah, I agree.
And if they're going par 5, they're going to have to go closer, more back into the lake with the tee box, or they're going to have to figure out how to get the folks behind the green to sell the house so they can move the green back there. Because that hole, for guys to be hitting, and you think about the modern day players. 310 to 319 yards is not that long. It's longer than average, but it's. Stinson hit it 309 and hit 5-iron in there yesterday. Makes par.
Yeah,
Which technically should have been a bogey.
I think they should. Maybe Mr. Palmer takes the approach much like Eastlake did with for the members. Let's see, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5 at Eastlake, where for the members it's a par 5, but during the Tour Championship it's a par 4.
Sure, you're hitting 4, 5, 6-iron in there. That's fine. That's just a good par 4.
Yeah.
You're talking about a par 5 at 16.
Then he wouldn't have to make the abrupt changes. He wouldn't have to move a tee box or build a new green or whatever.
Yeah, but I think you have to go. And they played it as a par 4 a few years ago. Remember, they put the bunkers on the right, which he ended up taking out when it was a par 4. And then, now granted, it gave a lot of excitement. There were a lot of eagles. But it played when you have a par 5, folks, it plays at 4.25. It's a par 4.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, realistically, yeah. Let's turn our attentions to the other quote-unquote men's championship that was going on, and that, of course, was the Tucson Conquistador. This was the first event to be held, and but it's an old look at a new trophy. We remember years ago.
Same old trophy.
Yeah. But I'm saying it's
at Tucson National.
It's been updated.
But it used to be a tour event. And now they've taken all of us geezers back over there, and then the guys from my era back there playing, and
what a great community support that tournament had.
Oh, absolutely.
The turnout, the phenomenal aspects we saw as the final group came up 18, a very strong par 4 that played almost at 4.5 in stroke average. But and everything was on your drive, and then you had to get it to an elevated green, and if you didn't catch it just right, you were going to end up in a bunker that was about 40 feet deep.
Yeah,
it looked like. So what a great finishing hole. But Marco Dawson ends up coming up, and he kind of went into a boxing match back and forth with a couple of different players. Wes Short, for one, who started off like a house of fire. Front nine has a great front nine. And then all of a sudden, not only did the wheels fall off, but the axle fell out and the drivetrain broke, and then the engine mounts snapped.
Well, you look at Tucson National. That's a golf course where if you start driving it bad, it gets tight in a hurry. In a hurry.
Well, we saw the likes of Mark O'Meara shoot 66 on the final day, made a significant run at 10 under par. And I like, he in his post round interview yesterday, Hugh, he says, well, I've been striking the ball good. I finally made some putts today. I'm hoping to keep this ball striking feeling going. So he was going to play next week, and then he said, I'm looking forward to Augusta. So, and Mark O'Meara can ball around Augusta. He can play that place.
He gets to where he starts putting decent. I agree. And I'm just proud and happy for Marco Dawson. He played at Florida Southern when I was in school at Columbus State. He was there with Lee Jansen. We used to call him Popeye because he's a guy that's got forearms that are bigger than my thighs. Guy's strong as a bull, and just I forget how many starts they said he's had throughout his career without ever having a win.
Well, it's his first Champions Tour win.
Tour, but I'm just talking about PGA Tour as well as Champions Tour.
Number of events.
And, he just keeps plugging along. And he's had a couple of chances on the Champions Tour last year and this year, to win, and he finally does. And, just goes to show you, folks, hard work, being a blue-collar guy, good old boy, there's nothing wrong with it. Just if you believe in yourself and you want it bad enough, fight for it and go get it, and he did it.
And it's his wife's Heather's birthday yesterday. She wasn't with him, so he was quick to tell her happy birthday.
Right, and she who must be obeyed, you must give her kudos where they deserve.
Well, Marco ends up shooting 13 under par. Had a little case of the nerves coming down the stretch, but he had a unplanned for bogey on 16, the par 5, and that should have been easily a par hole, if not a birdie hole for him. But he just kind of got a little jabby with his putt, but he settled the nerves and finished coming in and making a birdie, and then, of course, making a very good par on 18.
Well, when you look at it, he goes out, he birdies 10 and then bogeyed 15, like you said, the par 5, but then turns around and birdies 16.
Right.
That'll quiet your stomach down just a little bit.
Yeah. And he saw Bart Bryant, who was literally there chasing him. He was kind of smelling Wes Short coming up from behind to start the day after the front 9, but then Wes was quick to fall apart. And but Bart just kept hanging in there. And then all of a sudden they catch a little bit of a leaderboard, and they see Mark O'Meara is in the clubhouse with 66 for the day. He ends up at 10 under par. Tom Pernice Jr. had a good round of 68 on the last day. Scott Hoke shot 67 on the last days. Jeff Sluman, 67. Russ Cochran at 68. So there were several good rounds posted. But again, Marco goes out, shoots 3 days in the 60s. It was his tournament. And congratulations to him. He's got his first Champion Tour win, and he's off and running now. And he's just, like you said, he's a blue-collar guy. I like the way he approaches. He just gets up. He just hits the shot and moves on. Come on. I'm having a blast.
Yep.
Let's go. So,
like I said, I'm happy for him.
Very humble guy. Doesn't have the big ego. Doesn't have whatever. He knows that he's doing something that he always wanted to do, and that was play golf for a living. So, he was just you could see the relief leave his shoulders yesterday. No doubt about it. So congratulations to Marco Dawson, of course, picking up the inaugural Conquistador Tucson Classic. And I think we'll see more wins coming from Marco. I really do.
I do, too. I really do. He's one of those guys who's always been a great workout, fitness-type person. He's in great shape. So I think, you're going to see him around a long time.
Well, another tournament is going on this weekend, and we'll give you the wrap-up on it, but I enjoyed it just simply because of the level of golf that was being played, and that is the JTBC Founders Cup that was going on in Phoenix, Arizona. And little Miss Kim, 19 years old, here she picks up her second LPGA Tour win at 19, which, when you compare her to Lydia Ko, the number 1 player in the world, she's an old would you call her a legend yet at 19?
You have to. I mean, the girl wins like it's nothing tomorrow. It's like no big deal.
She had 10 Korean Tour wins. Did you know that? 10. Jeez. Isn't that amazing?
That's impressive.
At 19, and now she's got 2 LPGA Tour wins. And the Korean onslaught of wins just continues to build for the new season. So where we saw last year the U.S. players really coming back into the consideration of week to week to week to week, there was a U.S. player somewhere in the hunt. Now we're seeing the Koreans start to take back over as far as the flavor of the tour. And I don't know whether they had a meeting during the off season or whatever and said, okay, we got to get our stuff back in order. We got to take back our quote-unquote control. But one Stacy Lewis was literally battling down to the wire on this thing, and Kim ends up shooting 21 under. However, she makes a birdie on 18 and Stacey Lewis ends up 3-putting for a bogey. So that kind of spread the score wider than it actually was.
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to say that?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. But coming down 15, 16, 17, they were back and forth. And Kim just basically got on she wasn't really doing much on the front nine, but getting on the back nine, and she ended up hitting her drive on, I think it was 10, Hugh, over by this lone tree sitting right side of the fairway. And up in the tree was a large beehive. A large beehive. And so she's over inspecting, and the spectators are warning her of this beehive. Mm-hmm. And then a marshaller comes over and tells her that a previous player had just been very close to her ball and had gotten relief. So she called for a rules official. And the rules official came and told her that she was not going to strike the tree with her either backswing or follow through, so thusly it was not to be moved. She could not get relief. And after that ruling, it seemed like that just got to her big time. And she just said, okay, I'm just going to start throwing birdies on this field.
Yeah.
I'm going to win this thing. And Stacey Lewis, bless her heart, she was playing good golf, but she just couldn't catch up. I mean, she was Kim started throwing darts and making putts.
And George, just like we've talked about before, but that's, where you turn around when you walk off 18 after it's over, you shake their hand and congratulate them because you know what? You gave it your best. They just beat you.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's times you just get beat. And, it might have been that right there. It might have been the fact that they had given relief before and all of a sudden it was her and she says, okay, somebody. And some people would have given up. Obviously, it
spurred
stuck
her
in
on.
her crawl.
Yeah.
And she said,
definitely.
all right, here you go, Hoss. And off she went. So, you do something like that, again, that's where you just walk up and you shake their hand and say, hey, congrats.
Well, she ends up putting an abbreviated swing on it. She puts it out to about 60 yards. She takes a wedge, puts it up there at 3.5 feet, and makes the putt. And, of course, we're par. But, again, Stacey misses a birdie putt for whatever reason. And then she's sitting there going, okay, I make par, she makes par, but yet, we had to wait for the ruling and all this other stuff. I don't know. You look at Kim's face, and she was back over communicating with her caddy, and you could just tell that they were fired up. And
and I guarantee you, it could have gone a lot longer than that because there are a lot of people, men or women, but especially women, that are have allergic reactions to bee, hornet stings, things like that. She could have said, "Look, I'm allergic to these things. If I get stung, this is," and all of a sudden, she could have kept them there for a while.
And she was there for quite a while.
And could have demanded.
Yeah.
If it would have hit her in a certain way to where she got but she's like, all right, I'm getting out of here. We're going to go. And she, like you said, she pitches it out, knocks it up, makes par, and moves on.
Yeah.
She could have caused a bigger stink. She could have done even more than that in her press conference, but she never said a word.
No, she didn't.
So pretty classy on her behalf.
Absolutely.
Without a question.
Absolutely. Interestingly, too, come down 18, and she ends up hitting a good drive. Not a great drive, but a good drive. And Stacey Lewis just tears one down the left-hand side, kind of shortening up the hole a little bit. But, however, Stacey gets up there, and her ball's sitting in a divot on her approach to 18. And she has to make birdie to tie. And so that got in her crawl. And you could tell she ended up taking more club. Her caddy had given her a 7, and she was 150 out. And she ended up hitting a 6, thinking that the sand and then the wind seemed to be coming off the green there. But she ends up hitting a great shot. It lands right by the pin, but she's 40 feet behind it. And it's just not realistic to sink a 30 or 40-footer for birdie. But lo and behold, what happens? Kim ends up sticking up there at 8 feet, and she drains the birdie putt. Just no question about it. Center cut, She just drains it. And Lewis, she still had 4 feet to come back to make her par, and she missed it and pushed it and whatever. So like I said, 3-shot variance for the final, but it was closer than that until the last hole. So, good for. I enjoyed it. It was entertainment. So
I'm glad you did.
it was better than the Arnold Palmer. I'll put it that way. I was, from what I was getting from Stenson, he was already checked out a couple of holes back.
Well, and I figured that's why you were going there, because that was your boy.
Yeah,
And he did. He checked out.
he checked out.
And I tell you what, folks, as much as you want to say, even though Morgan Hoffman duck hooked it out of bounds on 18 at the Palmer, watch this young man. He's going to be around for a while.
Oh, goodness, yes.
I mean, the experience that young man gained yesterday, and he has got the golf game. So
He's got a beautiful swing, doesn't he?
Oh, pay attention.
Pound a golf ball.
Oh,
Goodness. That's a lot of club head speed there, dude.
Absolutely.
Well, the PGA Tour is headed to San Antonio, and Mickelson committed to play this week. So does that mean he skips Houston and goes ahead and heads to Augusta? Or is he going to do back and back in Texas?
Depends on what happens this week.
Okay.
Depends on what happens. San Antonio's a little different golf course, so we'll
Valero,
see.
Texas Open, of course, and it's kind of a – I've played the golf course. A couple of holes are kind of funky on it.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of strange.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So
it'll be interesting to see how he feels after this. If he doesn't feel good, he may say, all right, I'm going to go practice. If he's playing well, he has, if he happens to get up there and get in the top 10 or have a chance to win, he might play Houston just for the simple fact, all right, I'm just going to keep running this train until he gets there.
Well, we know that Houston preps the course under the quote-unquote Augusta specs. The rough, the fringe, the run-ups, the things like that, the stemp meter on the greens and things. They want to prep that golf course as much after Augusta National as possible for the players that agree to come out there and play, a week before the first major of the year. So, but Valero, they're not going to see that. And
No. Just watch out for rocks and snakes. You'll be fine.
Yeah. But Jordan Spieth, Phil Mickelson headlining this week. So that's good. And, of course, Jordan being a Texas boy, he's going back home.
And San Antonio's a fun town to be in. So.
Oh, great town. Riverwalk.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
Beautiful. All right. We want to thank everybody for joining us on Monday Morning Golf Wrap here on TGD. Did I say that right?
TGD, yes.
TGD Radio and TV are produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for thegolfdirector.com. When visiting the Golf Director, be sure to check out our featured course pages where you'll find up-to-date information about course conditions, specials, and much more. Need help with your next golf vacation? Just call Dave. Give us a call, 844-GO-GOLF-1. That's 844-464-6531. Hey, all of our programming is archived for listening and viewing on demand. To catch up on any show you may have missed, click on the TGD Radio or the TGD TV tabs in the menu screen at thegolfdirector.com. We are now available on over 1 billion devices at iTunes, Audio Realm, TuneIn, YouTube, Ustream, Roku, Blueberry, and Myrtle Beach Golf app. For George Honeycutt, Hugh Roy III, and Big D behind the glass, we want to thank you for tuning in, and there's more golf news and information coming up next.